Good morning everybody and welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the week ending the 2nd of December 2023. The deaths of several big names with various claims to fame are generally acclaimed. Gaza is in flames again with children being killed and maimed as Israel feels Hamas is playing games, so again they pursue their aims. Gove and Hancock accept some blame, but many think their excuses are lame. This week a cloud of nostalgia descended as we heard of significant lives that had ended. It began with memories of Euros 96, a summer of Gaza's box of Wembley tricks, England fans coming home for their football fix, cut short by Germany's penalty kicks. But that feel-good feeling in the memory sticks, thanks to Terry Venable's diamond tactics. He was a genial man and a genius coach whom everybody was happy to approach. He could also write, he could also croon. His job as England gaffer, though, ended too soon. In fact, straight after that semi-final loss, the FA was looking for a new England boss. Some dubious stuff meant the position of Venables as England's coach was becoming untenable. For Chelsea, QPR, Palace and Spurs he'd played, but management is where his reputation was made. His coaching talent was twinned with a sense of fun, which may explain why only 4 trophies were won. From Barca to Borough, fans tell how great Tell was. For 20 months he was the Socceroos Wizard of Oz. Now at 80, after some time of being unwell, the football world said thanks and farewell to El Tel. On Thursday we recalled another notable career from a quite different entertainment sphere. Shane McGowan had long since made his bed, and on Thursday we heard the Pogues front man was dead. He would have been 66 this Christmas Day when Fairy Tale of New York will doubtless play. For Shane it's an autobiographical tale told with language for some that's beyond the pale. A guy with relationship grief and on the brink, consumed by the consumption of drugs and drink. And in the end it seems it was these things that killed this lyrical savant with a life unfulfilled. This week 2 political giants died too, and historians and journos had much fat to chew. Henry Kissinger in May reached 3 figures. He was one of the 20th century's key figures. For a Jew born in Germany in 1923, it was not a great time or place to be. When he was 15 years old, it was time to flee. Young Heinz settled in the US with his family. It was in the 70s when the whole world became aware of Dr. Henry Kissinger's name. A doctor who always seemed to be everywhere, seeking a cure for every thorny world affair. He was Secretary of State for Nixon and Ford, and in 1973 won the Nobel Peace Award. It was completely undeserved, many people perceived, as peace in Vietnam had not yet been achieved. Even Kissinger agreed he hadn't earned it. 2 years on, when Saigon fell, he tried to return it. Kissinger was an advocate of realpolitik, sacrificing moral ideology for the pragmatic. He would say it was the days of the Cold War, and so compromise with the foe was the only way to go. Alistair Darling passed away the very next day, and once more we were immersed in past days far away. The mid-90s, when Blair broke down the Tory door with the style and panache of a toreador. Things can only get better, and we soon knew what he meant with Cool Britannia and the Good Friday Agreement. Darling served in Blair's government for a decade, and when Blair stepped down, Alistair Darling stayed as Chancellor in the cabinet of Gordon Brown, just as the financial crash came around. He nationalised Northern Rock to absorb some of the shock, and his calmness in a crisis made him Gordon Brown's rock. But in the end he fell out with his number 10 neighbour, which helped seal the beginning of the end of New Labour. Darling always thought Scottish independence was wrong, and in his 2014 political swan song he fought for the Better Together campaign, helping Scotland by a narrow margin to remain. Understated, modest, one of politics' nice guys. At 70 his death was an unwelcome surprise. On Friday came more nostalgic catharsis and the donning of more rose-tinted glasses, with the death at 83 of Bridget Forsyth, best remembered as Bob's straight-laced and straight-faced wife in Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads, with its post-60s attitudes, fashions and fads. Bridget went on to have a bright career, acting on stage and screen for nearly 50 years. Back to the present and the Gaza Strip, where, after a 7-day truce, the Israelis let rip. Negotiations with Hamas in Qatar, it seemed, were no longer getting very far. Israel considered this a license for violence, and the noise of bombs once more broke the silence. At the COVID inquiry, Michael Gove gave his take, admitting the government had made mistakes. He spoke at length with apparent candour, and surprisingly avoided any Boris slander. A year ago, Hancock was Anton Deck's jungle guest. This week Matt faced another unpleasant test. For 2 days he confessed at the COVID inquest that some things went wrong, but he'd done his best. Some victims, though, found his words as hard to digest as the jungle bollocks that he had had to ingest. Hancock's hopes for redemption seemed to have all gone west.